Hello and welcome to Community Forum, the home edition, still using the old Zoom process to do the recording until they allow us to go back in the studio again. So we're going to fight the battle today. And today I have a special guest on the show, all the way from Canton, Dick Staiti. Dick Staiti's a former selectman. Dick will tell us all about his past history, and then we'll get into some questions about what his goals are. Good morning, Dick, and welcome.
Good morning, Roy. It's great to see you, even though it's via Zoom. It's a pleasure to see you again, my old friend. Thank you.
I guess it's been quite a while since we've seen each other when we both served on the Norfolk County Advisory Board, I believe.
That's right, we did. And
back, what, 30 years?
I think it was longer, but we won't say. We won't say. We haven't aged that. We've done fine.
So
but it was a while ago.
You look like you found the fountain of youth.
I must have looked very old when I was young, because people say that. I think it's a Dorian Gray effect or something, but I don't know. Good genes.
You've gotten rid of all the things in life that put a lot of pressure in the brain, and you got a couple of gray hairs, I see, but you're looking good. How about giving us a little bit of a breakdown of where you've been, something brief in a couple of minutes if you can.
Yeah, sure. And again, thank you for having me today. Well, as you know, I'm running for county commissioner. It's a job that some people understand, some don't. We'll get into that a little bit later. But background, I'm a Canton son. Hopefully you won't hold it against me. I know the Bulldogs and Knights are rivals, but I was born in Canton, raised in Canton, taught at Canton High School. I had the good fortune of having two great parents who moved out from the city after the war, and I was born late in life to them, but gave me a good start in life. I have 5 children. They're all grown up, a couple of grandchildren now, little tiny ones, but they're fun. Can't see them with the pandemic. It's kind of making it hard, but we do virtual meetings and those kind of things like that. Canton was my town that I grew up in, so obviously I was drawn to serve it as well. So I was interested first in public office many years ago, and I tried and I ran for a library trustee, and that was my first venture into the political realm, and I actually did pretty well. I got a good vote, so people would say, well, you should run for something else. So after a few years I ran for selectman, and oh boy, that was a tough time. That was when Prop 2.5 hit and things were going crazy, and I didn't know what I was getting into, but we found a way to get through it. It was interesting, but it was a good experience. Yeah, it was very good.
You and I both were serving on each town's Board of Selectmen, and that's how we met. And from that, we went to the Norfolk County Advisory Board, and I believe you were my boss for a while.
I did have the pleasure of serving as chairman and chairperson of the board 3 times. I might add, too, that I was the youngest selectman ever elected, so I was very young when I was elected, so maybe that accounts for a little bit. But I don't know. I'll tell you what. That was a great experience, though. Working with you and working with other selectmen in different towns, I learned so much, because there's nothing like collaborating and talking to other people and getting good ideas and finding out, how did you handle this? How did you handle DPW? How did you handle issues on other things in terms of negotiations? Fantastic. Well, I remember I cherish the 9 years of selectmen. I really enjoyed the Norfolk County Advisory Board meetings and also the MMA. I felt that was a great experience to once a year get together and have instruction and seminars on how to do better things. And also, again, learning from other people. I learned more over a cup of coffee sometimes, talking to people like you and other people from Sharon and neighboring towns than, anyone can tell you in a lifetime. It was a great experience and great friendships that were formed.
Absolutely. I still think back to the days when I was on the county board and on the jail subcommittee.
Yes.
That was something else. That's when they were still operating the old jail, which has since been turned into condominiums, I guess. But that was something. I think I remember Sheriff Marshall telling me that I was the only selectman who ever actually went in and studied the place. I remember doing a 12-hour shift from 4 in the afternoon to 4 in the morning, and I came out of there scratching like like bugs were all over me, but they weren't. It was just a psychological effect. But that was something else. They really needed a new jail, and they found the spot in the middle of 128 and what is it, Dedham,
Yeah.
and they built the building. I'm sure that it's become obsolete at this point because that was almost what, 30 years ago.
Yeah. That's it's funny. That's a good point. I've served so long on the county board. I'm the longest serving member now on the advisory board. And it's interesting how many things have happened. I forgot about the jail. I forgot that was a big issue about whether we were going to build it, where we were going to put it, and where it was going to go. And poor Cliff Marshall, what a great man, too. What a great public servant. And he was finally able to get it located there. But that made me think of something else. You may recall that in addition, when I was chairman of the advisory board, by virtue of being that, I was chairman at what we had at one time, a hospital as well. It was called the Massachusetts Respiratory Hospital in Braintree. And for a while, that was a county hospital, mostly for tuberculosis and people with lung problems. But that eventually went out of business, was bought out, and eventually that became part of an adjunct to the jail for people who were having substance abuse problems. And now, of course, that's, like you said, is all condos and things like that. But yeah, we had some, I mean, back in the day, you had the jail issue was a huge issue. There was the hospital, keeping that afloat. And then it was, I don't know if you were on the board when there was a treasurer issue with Bob Hall. There was some infighting between the responsibility of the treasurer and the responsibility of the county. And I got roped to being the attorney pro bono I represented the county board pro bono, but it was a great experience. Again, I learned a lot in doing that. We were able to win that verdict for the good of all. So that was an interesting thing. But yeah, things have changed. But then again, they haven't, some of the same issues are surfacing again.
Is that Norfolk jail, is it still within the capacity, or is it another one of those overcrowded situations?
That's a good point. And it's something that truthfully and sadly, maybe because of statute, the jail no longer comes under our purview. The jail is a separate independent agency. It doesn't get the funding from the county, it gets it from the state. So our interaction with the sheriff is very, very limited. Whereas we would see Cliff Marshall frequently at the advisory board and his successors, it's interesting. It's a county operation that is one of the few ones that's independent of the commissioners. So we don't have too much interaction with them. So I can't honestly answer that question, with you. I don't, that's not what I have.
I'm wondering if they're turning loose some of the lesser offenders because of the coronavirus, if they're letting them out of there.
Yeah, I don't know. That I don't know.
We read a lot about that throughout the country, as a matter of fact, letting inmates out before their time because of the pandemic or some foolish reason like that. Unfortunately, they're forced into it to try to minimize the impact of the virus, but I don't know.
Well, not to get sidetracked, and I'm being polite to you as a friend, there are 3 people running for county sheriff, all right, in the Democrat primary. And then the person appointed by Governor Baker, McDermott, he's running for re-election. So that could be maybe a show to think about down the road. Maybe you might want to, do something with them. And maybe some of those answers could be a fruit for you. I don't really know. Also, the sheriff department is a separate department. They don't come under the jurisdiction or the umbrella, if you will, of the commissioners. So we don't have any interaction with them. And now with the COVID pandemic, all those things that we would hear about, we don't hear. Everybody's operating in a vacuum now. It's one of the trouble with the COVID. I was enjoying in the beginning part of the campaign. It was fun because I was meeting different candidates for different offices. And we were, all together going to different towns and speaking, and you'd learn about things like that. But then it stopped around, March 9th or 10th. It got shut down, and now we're all kind of doing our own thing. So it's unfortunate.
How many other candidates are there for county commissioner? Or are you the only?
3 others, including myself.
All Democrats, or what are they?
Well, one is an incumbent. He's running for re-election. And then there's an open seat because Commissioner O'Brien, one of the longest serving commissioners ever, has retired for his own personal health reasons. Mm-hmm. So but really, it's not broken down that way. There's 4 people running for 2 seats. That's how it is.
All right. And I read some of your material that said there are 28 cities and towns
Yes, yeah,
in
yes,
the area that you're running.
right. By and large, it's the way the demographics break down, but the county is driven in part by the big cities like Quincy and Brookline. So I have an uphill battle because one of the candidates is from Quincy, and he's going to be coming from the largest city, and he's well known and he's well liked. So it's going to be tough. I'm not saying to come in number one, but the other candidates, one from Braintree, one's from Dedham, and from Canton, we have a shot. It's up a matter to get our vote out and make sure people realize it's an important position, and it is, and hopefully get their support. What you run for county commission? Someone asked me this the other day. What is county commissioner? When I ran for selectman, and when you ran for selectman, right? And by the way, the new terminology is going to be select board, as you understand.
Oh.
But it's selectman. When I ran, no one said to me, "What is a selectman?" Right? No one did that. People know what a selectman does. They know that you work with the police, the fire, the roads, the DPW. You know what I'm saying? With commissioner, the first question people say to me is, "Well, what do you do?" So I find I have to explain the job and then tell them why they should vote for me, if you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I mean, in some parts of our country, county commissioner is a big deal. There's more regional government, and so the commissioner has a larger role. Here in Massachusetts, the local cities and towns are big, as we know, But still, we voted last night on a budget over $30 million. That's significant. That's where your tax dollars are going. People should care about that. And with all the things going on with our pandemic, and they're saying we're heading for some fiscal problems down the road, people should start looking at every level of government, the local, the state, and of course the county. So, one of my things I'd like to do, and I hope to do, is make people more aware of the county. First of all, make it more transparent. What is the county all about? And then secondly, in explaining it, how can we serve you better? All right. So, my analogy is this. What I've told people is, on a quick answer, think of a selectman, but in a bigger level. Just like a selectman or a select board member has control of police and fire, DPW, roads, engineering, things like that. The county commissioners have an engineering department. The county commissioners are in charge of all the county roads. The county commissioners have buildings to maintain. All right. Now, they don't have a police department. They don't. And they don't have fire, but they have a school, the Aggie School, a beautiful school. Right. And they have recreation, the recreational golf course, which I think is in really need of repair. That's a whole different issue on that. But it's similar in that you meet one day a week, just like selectmen, although you don't. You know that. How many times did you meet during the week? It wasn't one day a week. You were getting phone calls. You had issues, sometimes negotiations. So no select board member meets one day a week. But that's what the commissioners are like. You have one day a week, and then I'm sure there are other things that come up, like any job. So it's very similar in that regard.
It's a paid position.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's interesting.
This time I can get paid, by the way. Remember before I couldn't get paid, but we won't go down that road.
You mean
we won't talk.
Your select board never paid?
No. There was the issue about being a teacher, and
the dual check.
Right, it was some silliness, and so I had to take one pay over the other. Let me think: teacher pay or the $1,500 as a stipend? I'll take the teacher pay. I'll take door number one. So.
I don't blame you at all. You sound like the President of the United States. He's not taking his pay either.
Oh, God. That's good or bad compared to Trump, but anyway.
Well, I'm not comparing you to Trump. There's no way. We know you, and I know what you're made of, and I'm proud of you, although I haven't seen you in quite a while. And it's so nice to see you, and it's like it just yesterday that we worked together. Right. The different type of experience you have, I'm sure lends itself to your wanting to become the county commissioner. It's important that you're getting in there with a background. I don't know how the other candidates are, but it's better to have someone in there that can get started right off the bat. And it sounds like your background is such that you're going to be good if you get in there. When you get in there.
Well, let's say when and if, and let's keep our fingers crossed. That's a great point. There are 4 people running, and they're all good people. That's not my style to put anybody down. But I'll tell you what, you have to say something about yourself in terms of how you qualify. And I'll say with all modesty, I feel the most qualified, and here's why. Think about, again, what the county commissioner does. You're in charge of the court buildings, all right? You're in charge of the buildings in the county. I'm a lawyer, all right? And I go to the registry of deeds quite often as a zoning lawyer. And I have also gone to probate court, handling some minor matters for a state. And I also have gone to Superior Court. So I'm familiar with the court buildings. I've been to Stoughton District Court. I'm familiar with the buildings and the personnel, and I know what needs to be done. Secondly, let's go back in time. For a long time, as you know, Roy, as I mentioned, I was a school teacher, and I've been in the classroom. I've been in the actual educational arena, and I was able, with some pride, I say this, to finish my career as a director of science and technology. So I saw education both as a classroom teacher, but also on the semi-management side. Now, we have an Aggie school. That's a very great school. It does a great job. What better to have a person with classroom experience and managerial experience able at this critical time in there who can address issues of the school and the court? And I know I wear a couple of hats. That's always been my way, to do whatever I can, but that's because my upbringing was that way. You know, get in, do all you can, you know, and give it back as best you can. So I feel with my knowledge of the advisory board budget, I'm very familiar with the budget. I have the education background, I have the lawyer background, and I have the ability, as I've done before, to bring people together. I'm the right person at this time. This is a tough time we're heading into. Tough time. We are.
What's the overlooking the Aggie school? Are they strictly Aggie, or have they broadened their educational process to include other trades?
Exactly. They've kind of segued more into computer and technology and that kind of, which is great for me, where I did science and technology. They still have their Aggie component. They have their horticultural component and animal breeding and things of that nature, but they're emphasizing also more computer and STEM and classes of that nature. They're adjusting to the times.
Those are I guess when you graduate from high school, there's a choice of going on to further your education or getting into the trades.
Right.
I think that these days, especially when they graduate from college, they say, okay, now what?
Exactly.
But when they graduate from the Aggie school, they probably have jobs waiting for them.
Yeah. Yes. You're right. Listen, my youngest, Andrew, just graduated a few years ago from Stonehill, and he's at that age where it's like, well, now what? You know, a lot of that generation
Exactly.
they're back home with their parents going, now what? You know, and I'm like, well, what did you go to school for? I mean, I was lucky when I went to Stonehill and I got out, I went right into teaching right away. I got out at 20 and I got hired as a teacher and a coach, and I got into the sports program at Canton High, and I went right into work, and that was it. Then I went on, while I was going to school, I got my master's degree in education administration, which helped me later on. Mm-hmm. And then later, much later, I went to school at night, very proud to say, but I worked my way through law school at night and got my law degree. But yeah, I mean, to a school like the Aggie school, those technical schools, they give students a leg up. You get out, you got a trade, you got something you can do, you know? Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
How many years did you teach in Canton?
I taught about 34 years, 34, 35 years.
And then you retired.
What's that? I'm sorry?
Then you retired.
Yes. Yeah, I did. Well, they had the early retirement at 55. You could get out a little early, and it was good because it saved money for the schools, cities, and towns, and it allowed a younger staff to get in there. I loved it. I enjoyed it. But I have my law degree, and so I started practicing law, and I'm very happy to say I've got a nice little niche, and it's going quite well. I've been in Stoughton. I went before the Stoughton zoning board. They treated me very nicely. It was a small matter, but it was a good matter. In fact, after the meeting, after it was over, it was kind of fun. One of the members of the board, after the thing was already voted, but he said, I think your dad built our house. I said, really? He goes, yeah. I said, and I looked at him. He goes, and it's still standing. It was a great house. My dad built a lot in Stoughton. He did. I remember as a young boy working with him, and we built quite a lot in Stoughton, up on Plain Street and all sorts of different streets. So Staiti houses are still around. Hopefully those people are going to vote for Staiti.
That says a lot for you, sir.
It does.
They're still around.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Are you here? Do you have any elected position now? I mean, you said you started off as the running for library. Uh,
Right.
did you make that, by the way?
I did. I got a top vote in the whole town. I was amazing. I got the #1 vote for library trustee. So that's when a couple of people had said, you should run for something. I'm like, well, I'm not even thinking of that. I had a young baby and whatever. I was just starting out. But after that, I did run for selectman, and I won. I beat an incumbent. That was a tough race,
Do
and
you
that
miss,
was
do you miss
that
it?
was I'm sorry.
Do you miss the selectmen?
Yes and no. I mean, there's a time and a purpose for everything in life, and I feel no because I want to tell you what I'm doing now. I'm very fortunate. I serve Canton now as the town moderator, and the moderator is it's a very, very interesting job. You have to work with everyone. So as a moderator, we're working with the selectmen, the school committee, all the different boards. Not to mention, of course, the public. But you're working with different boards and preparing for the meeting, and then you have to oversee the meeting. And then there's things that have to take place afterwards. There's a lot of appointments. You have to appoint people to the finance committee, to the building committee, capital planning committee. So the job, it's not like it's year round. It's not quite obviously as extensive as being a selectman, but right now I'm going a little crazy. Fun crazy. We have our town meeting scheduled for next week. And actually what I did last night before the county budget meeting, I visited the Westwood town meeting and I observed them in action. Westwood did their meeting outdoors because of the pandemic. And we're doing ours Monday outdoors because we were told that outdoor is safer than indoor. You're
Sure.
reducing the risk. So we're getting ready for our meeting Monday. And then, of course, the town administrator just emailed me before our conference call here. And he goes, well, it might rain. Now what are we going to do? And I'm like, all right, well, we're planning for a rain date. We have that ready, but, a lot of planning.
Be out there with their umbrellas.
Well, hopefully, I mean, New England weather, Roy. You know what I mean? It could say rain on Monday and the sun might be coming through, but in a particular case, because of the pandemic, we're going to have everyone has to wear a mask. We're going to have the seats spread apart 8 to 10 feet. We're going to have lots of hand sanitizers, proper spacing in terms of when you check in. No one's going to be allowed to stand in line for the microphone. I'll recognize them as moderator. They can go to the mic when they call. We'll have it sanitized right away. I mean, all the little things we had, it's bad enough, not bad enough, but it's challenging enough to think of all the things you have to do to prepare for a town meeting. And now we had the pandemic on top. So it's been interesting. But one thing we did do, we trimmed the budget. We trimmed the articles down. We're only taking up those called the essential articles, the budget, capital planning, the important things, if you will. And then we're going to do the rest, hopefully later in the summer or early fall. So we're going to have like 2 meetings.
Going to table the town meeting until you're able to have a normal meeting.
Right. Yeah. Yes. More or less. It's take what we have to do to take up what we have to do to get the town running. Like the budget article is very important for police, fire, schools. Okay. And then anything and it was a group decision. It wasn't just me. Again, good example of collaboration. I was on the Zoom call like this, but I had on it selectmen, planning board. We had the town planner, the finance director, FinCom members. It was quite extensive. And we had to talk about politely, listen, what's really important? What's important to get through the town? And then what can wait? And, a little give and take. Well, we'll see what happens Monday night.
Well, the moderator is probably one of the more powerful positions in the town government. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility because you're the one that's controlling actually how the money's spent by how you run the meeting.
Indirectly, it's an important position. It really is. It's one that's looked upon, I think, with a certain amount of respect. I would like to say too. But it's only one big event, and then more or less, like I said, it kind of recedes, and then my job is more like working with committees and making sure the committees are filled, things like that. But showtime's coming up.
Yeah, it sounds good. I wish you luck.
Thank you.
The county commissioners, do they sit over the sheriff's department?
No, they don't. So as I said, their job is to they have an engineering department. They have the Aggie School. They serve as trustees of the Aggie School. They are trustees of the golf course. okay, recreational facility. They're in charge of maintaining the court buildings. That's their job. Now they get a certain amount of state reimbursement for that. Okay, they get a certain amount from the trial court. Some of the money comes from the assessment that each town has based on their property value, as you probably know. And then the rest of that money comes from what's called a deeds excise tax. There's a certain amount of that gets kicked into the coffers. So a conglomerate of funds kind of funds the county budget. But overseeing the sheriff, as I said, I think it might have been, I'm trying to remember when they broke away, and I can't tell you the exact, I don't know if it was under Sheriff Flood or if it was under the sheriff who succeeded him, but it wasn't Bellotti. I know that they took the operation of the sheriff department and they took it out of the county and made them accountable, if you will, and funded strictly by the state. So even though it's a county job, like people run for county sheriff, it's really funded by the state.
I think McDermott was appointed by the governor.
Yes. Yep.
So that lends itself to what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're facing the defunding things that are going on. Do you know anything about that?
I don't.
No. Well,
I'll tell you something funny though. It's just not funny, but ironic. There's a fellow running on a Democrat ticket for sheriff. His name is McDermott. All right. And the person appointed by Governor Baker, his name is McDermott. So it's going to be if he wins the primary, this could be a very interesting, people are going to be, which McDermott am I voting for? You know, it's interesting, but you know, at least there's only one Staiti on commissioner. All right. There's only one.
So no confusion in that area.
No.
That's good. Yeah, I had the sheriff on the show several months ago. He's quite a good guy.
Yes, he is a good guy.
Knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he was I believe he was, for a short time, a member of the Board of Selectmen in Westwood, I believe. And he attended one of our advisory board meetings, so I indirectly know him, you know. Yeah, he's a good person.
What do you see as some of the challenges of the county these days, budget-wise or function-wise or whatever? What are the challenges facing it?
Well, you know, Roy, I'll tell you, I was on a Zoom call in Braintree Democratic Committee about 3 weeks ago, and Senator Keenan was on the call, and it was very somber and very, very serious, and he basically said, you know, we're in tough shape. We're heading for some tough times. And we hear people like Maki saying we could be headed for a depression. I think I'll answer your question, but I'll answer it this way here. I know in Canton, and I know in Westwood, and I even know in Stoughton, because I was standing on election day in Stoughton talking to some of your candidates for selectmen. I know in Norwood. I've been around the different towns campaigning. So the knowledge is a great thing. And most of the cities and towns are going to be all right for fiscal 21 because they had money put aside and they're tapping into like rainy day funds. Right? But my good friend, when we look at fiscal 22 and what's happening now, we could be heading for trouble. We just could be heading for trouble. The revenues may not be there. So there may be some tough decisions. But what's that going to do with the county? The county takes its money from the town. I mentioned that. A certain amount of it comes from the state. I mentioned that. What happens if the state says we have to cut back? What if the towns say our property values are going down? The amount of money for the county is going to get decreased.
What can you cut?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Cut.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know yet, but what I'm saying in terms of what do I see and what do I bring to the job, when Prop 2.5 hit, we had to cut. And so it forced us to rethink everything, re-examine everything. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we have to do with the county. The county has to take a good look at itself. What's important, what is not. What is essential, what is not. And you're going to have to make adjustments based on that. That's one way. Here's another way. Maybe create some new revenue. Maybe look at ways to create revenue. There are ways.
What do you
I've got ways. What's that?
Any ideas?
I do. I'm glad you asked. Yes. And one is a very good way, a clean, renewable way, solar energy. We should be using more solar. I'm very proud to say that as an attorney, I permitted the largest solar field east of the Mississippi at the Canton landfill site, 5.6 megahertz. And that deal in Canton provides them, number one, with a lease agreement that gives them $200,000 a year, right, from the solar company. Number two, it provides credits on the Canton utility bill for electricity. So we have a lower utility bill and we get money for leasing the land. Why can't we do that with the county? Why can't we take some of these buildings and put solar panels on them and generate money and generate and save our utility?
There's a lot of flat roofs.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why we're not doing it. So my thing is I'm going green. I want to have renewable energy. I want to generate extra money, right? Lower our utility. It might be a way of saving the county or helping to save the county and save jobs. There's your answer. That's one. That's just one. The county golf course. For a long time, I know, because I've been on the board, they keep talking about expanding the clubhouse and making it a function room. What are we waiting for? If you made it into a function room, you could generate more revenue. You could have you could have tournaments. You could have charity events. You could do all sorts of things. Again, it got buried somewhere, and I don't know what happened. And I know people get busy and things come up, but what happened to it? So that should be re-examined. There's two, okay? And like I said, the other thing is sometimes we need to look at things with a keener eye. Maybe there's some things that can be done a different way. And that would be something I would bring in terms of being an educator and a lawyer and a person who's negotiated contracts like yourself. We got to look at things differently in terms of how can we cut costs. We can do it.
Would you consider chopping up some of the golf course for building? I mean, they've done it in Sharon, I think it is.
Yeah.
That golf course there has changed hands, and now there's houses being built at the entrance. Is that something you'd consider too?
You know, I'd be dishonest with you, and I can't be that way, if I said, oh, I never thought of that. But I believe my preliminary research revealed to me that that course, if it isn't used for what it was deeded, reverts back to the city of Quincy. We would lose it. So it has to be used for the recreation of the benefit of the county. Now, maybe a portion of it could be, I don't know. Give me a chance to get in there and I'd examine everything. But I was told it has to be used in the manner it was bequeathed. There's a restrictive covenant on it. So you can't just put condos on it. All right, that would be out. The answer would be no. Could there be other uses there? I think the answer is maybe, and that's what I want to look at. I would.
That'd be interesting. That solar energy that you're talking about in Canton,
yes,
isn't that Mount BFI down on Route 24? The trash to energy or the trash disposal area?
Oh, no. Ours is on near the town club down on Pine Street. You don't even see it. It's near the Canton Town Club. The town had a landfill that they closed, and it had about 35 acres of land. And so a company that came to Canton approached me to be their solar permit attorney. It was a fantastic job. And we end up leasing about half of the land. And so they pay the town, as far as a lease agreement, revenue to lease every year. Can't get a check for $200,000, and then they get a credit on their electric bill on utilities because of it was a deal they negotiated. And actually, talk about, how things are. People copy others when they see a good thing. It didn't take long. I saw the same type of setup in other towns that do solar fields on their landfills. I'll give you one quick I know is Eastham. Eastham has a great recycling program, and they have the solar field on their landfill. The landfill's been capped. So it has to be capped for so many years, and then you negotiate with the solar company and money to be made. So again, why couldn't we do that? The county has a generous amount of land. I'm thinking maybe at the Aggie School or other buildings, you could look at some of those roofs and you could certainly put some panels on there, generate money.
How about the use of windmills for electricity? Is that something you'd be interested in looking into?
That, for some reason, has a bad rep, and I studied that. The people who are opposed to them, and I don't blame them, are concerned about two things. One is safety. So you have to build it in an area that's not near any homes. If, God forbid, a storm comes and it gets knocked over, you've got serious damage. Number two, the wind turbines, when they turn, create a noise. And that was something that people object to. And whatever. So it'd have to have an area of land that perhaps is quite open, in a great location. I would look at it, but I'm more towards solar. I lean more towards solar.
We can probably go back onto Route 128 in the open land there as a possible site. I mean, that seems to be a controversial subject. I mean, some people don't want it because it affects their view of the ocean.
Yes.
It's a bird might fly into it or something.
Yeah.
But you know, we got to explore all the possibilities.
Well, you're right. And that's what COVID, it's funny. Look at what we're doing right now, you and I. We're meeting, but in this manner. And you're getting used to it, as I am. And after a while, well, no, but this might be, I read something yesterday in a magazine, or online, of course, because who does print anymore? But it said the mask might be the way of the world for a long time. Wearing a mask might be something that's going to be something that we maybe have to do for a long time. And again, communicating like this. I'm even thinking about the school children. I know schools are all getting out. I think this week, pretty much schools are shutting down, but before you know it, they'll be heading back. What will they be doing? Will they go back to the same, or will it be different? Will it be a combination of virtual, or maybe 1 week in the classroom, 1 week at home? And a lot of uncertainties, but the point about here, related to my office, we got to rethink things. We have to re-examine everything. That's what I was trying to say. For too long, I think, not trying to slam anybody, but you get a little comfortable. You do things a certain way, and you get comfortable doing it. What I want to do is bring a fresh face, a fresh look. Let's look at things differently, and let's get it done the right way.
Well, your skills or your background certainly lends itself to the upcoming position that you're hopefully going to be getting. What other skills do you bring to deal with the challenges? Your life, you've not been sitting still. No. Obviously, from the days of the library trustee up to the members of the Norfolk County Advisory Board have been filled with different chores and stuff that have enhanced your experience. Yeah. What skills do you really think that the county needs that you'll be bringing to it?
With all modesty, and I give all credit to my mom and dad. My mom and dad, I'd say again, were great people. They were hardworking. I don't think I ever saw my father ever take a day off. He was always working. I just remember my father always working. My mother was always his supporting help and always a busybody, never shutting down until the day they died. They would just go. And I think from my mom, I learned a lot about giving back and being a people person. My dad was a tough guy. He was tough. He had lost his father when the Great Depression happened. And so he had to quit school. And I think it bothered him that he never finished because he was a bright man, a self-made man, taught himself how to read and write, and very, very intelligent, but he never finished school. And I say with pride because I was the first person in my family to go to college, the first one. And he was very proud of that. I say with pride that I was able to put 5 children through college. And again, that was through hard work. So number one, I'm a hard worker, Roy. I just work hard. It's in my blood. Number two, I give back because I was taught to do that. And it's in my blood. And I think 2 skills right there we're going to need more than ever are people who are going to work hard and give back. Number 3, I'm a people person. I like people. I like working with people. I like solving problems. And I have the ability, it's a gift, I would say, to bring people together to find a common good. We need that now. We really do. We need it more than ever because we need a commissioner and a person on the county who's not going to just go once a week, punch it out. You need to work with people. You need to work with state reps and senators. You need to work with local officials. I envision, and I would hope, that if I'm able and chosen and humbled to be elected, I would have monthly, even little town halls and maybe have an opportunity to visit, even though Stoughton, you're my next town over, have a little meeting and say, I'm here for an hour, drop by for a coffee. If you have anything on your mind, please tell me what's on your mind. I want to establish links with the people who are elected in the town and find out again, how can we do things better? I'll give you one example too, and I should have talked about this earlier. Sometimes you forget things. County government could do more in terms of regionalizing services. And I'm very lucky to say that I worked with a couple of fire chiefs years ago in doing that. There was a chief before chief duty named Chief Ronayne. And when Chief Ronayne was appointed fire chief, he came to me with an idea. He wanted to see if we could do a regional dispatch system. to,
Absolutely.
right. And so I worked on that. I was the facilitator and worked with him, and it ended up working out quite well. It's just a system for Canton, Holbrook, Randolph, and maybe Stoughton. I'm not sure if Stoughton's involved in it, but there were three of Avon. Avon was involved. So we had 4 towns sharing a dispatcher. Now, in the beginning, the unions weren't happy, understandably, because that would mean perhaps a loss on the job. But we worked it all out, and now there are civilian people who do the job that should be done, and the firemen are doing their job. They're the professionals. They're dealing with fires and rescue and things like that. You talked about, in a way, indirectly, you were talking about defunding the sheriff department, and you touched on Black Lives Matter. Not to get down that road, but I noticed that out in California, they said henceforth, instead of having police officers respond to people with substance abuse, you might have a trained professional or a civilian respond to them instead.
Right.
Because they're trained for it. So hear me out. Here's what we did. Again, what I'm proud to say. It's a skill to respond to a fire. A dispatcher can be handled by a civilian, and that's what we saw. We were ahead of the curve. So why not look at more ways to do that? Why not explore through dialogue with elected people in Stoughton and Holbrook and Avon and Braintree and Quincy? Well, let's look at ways that we can regionalize things and save money and serve the public better.
Have
That's what I want to bring.
they regionalized the 9/11 system?
I believe in those towns we have, but not across the county, no.
That might be a goal for you.
Yeah, that would be a great thing.
There's 9/11 that goes both ways. It goes in and it also comes out if you have to, send out a message to
That's right.
everybody to be prepared for whatever.
Yeah.
It's a great system.
No, in fact, it's not funny, but again, there was a lot of emails this morning before I got in this call with you, and somebody, one of the people said, "Oh, it might rain Monday. What do we do? What do we do?" And I said, "It might not. It might snow. I don't know." But I said, "Look, worst comes to worst, you make a decision, and you get it out on 911, reverse 911. You just blast it out, and that's all. So it is a great thing. It's a great thing. It is."
I think the system is called Enhanced 9/11. Do you know
Yes.
anything about that?
Yes. Yeah, that's what it is. That's right. That's right.
I think you should definitely put that as one of your goals.
I will.
It's a great system.
Yeah.
Has the pandemic affected this race at all?
Yeah.
Contacting prospective voters, you can't have group meetings. You can't have the meetings, and if somebody wants to have a bunch of neighbors over, they can't do it. It must be very difficult.
Roy, I'll tell you, it's been hard. Not looking for sympathy, but it has been a huge challenge. Let me tell you just the three of them. Number one, first of all, to run for county commissioner, you're required to get 1,000 certified signatures, which means you got to get 1,500. You know what I mean? Because sometimes people, they sign it, but they're not registered, or they're the wrong party, so I had to get over 1,000 signatures. Now, I will say this again, it wasn't just me. I was so blessed that I had so many friends step up and help me that I did it. I got over 1,000 certified signatures. And just about when I had them all, the state decided, you know what, we're going to lower the requirement. They lowered it to 500. I was like, great. So that's how another candidate got in. And I like him, but he snuck in because he only got about 550. But he did it. They lowered the amount. I'm proud to say I got the 1,000. So that made it hard, number one, because no one wanted to sign it. They were afraid. Everyone was, I don't want to sign that. I don't want you near me. So we got to be very creative. I met people like in the driveway, and I would leave the paper, and I would say, get your own pen. I have a mask. You have a mask. They would come out and sign it. But it took forever, but we did it. So that was one thing. Number two, as you hinted on, you can't have group meetings because of social rules. Everything has to be done by phone calls, Zoom. You can't canvass. No one's going to answer the door to a stranger. So you can't go door to door. Those are the trademarks of my kind of campaign. I would have been out there knocking on doors and ringing doorbells. None of that's going to happen. It's all going to be by mail and by phone calls. And sadly, the real kicker was I never had a fundraiser. I was all set to kick off the Staiti Commissioner campaign. I had my invitation printed up, and COVID hit. So I said, okay, I'll wait a month. Everyone, you remember when it first started? It sounds silly, but remember people were just saying, if you wash your hands, you'll be okay. Do you remember that? And everyone thought maybe, in a couple of weeks, you'll be okay. So I reprinted my invitations for a month later. And guess what? I still haven't had it. So if you want to donate to my committee, I can put it on a chat thing and show you how to do it. But truthfully, it's been really hard because I'm asking people that I know and friends to kind of help me out and family to raise money. It's tough to run a campaign without a fundraiser, so it's tough. It's tough, real tough. But I think the thing I miss the most is the people-to-people interaction. I enjoyed so much those caucuses, going and speaking to people, talking to people, shaking hands. What's that? Shaking hands? Now we do an elbow thump or something. But, I'm a people person. So without that ability to go out and press the fresh, talk to people, it's been hard. It's a real challenge. But we'll be,
able to help in that area by exposure. I think we're doing great, and we're running out of time, but we're doing all right so far.
Yeah. Okay.
Any cost-cutting areas that you would try to look at, such as, if I remember correctly, the meeting, the office is in Dedham, across from the Registry of Deeds. Is that where the office still is?
Yes, it's still there. Yeah.
Is that something that could be eliminated?
I don't want to be, again, dishonest and say, well, I could do this, I could do that. I really feel strongly that I would get in there, and the first thing is, again, firsthand, let's look at things, let's observe, and then let's make some changes. Okay. For example, you're the first one to hear this. All right. I'll tell you the truth. When I was a selectman, and you were too, in the very beginning, our meetings were not televised. We didn't have cable. That's crazy, but we didn't. We went in a room and we would meet at 7:00. There might be a reporter there. There may not be. All right. And then we had the open meeting law, but people showed up if there was a controversy, and then that was it. And then along came cable, right? And voila, now you have a whole different world, which is great. It's transparent. The county commissioners do not have cable. And if there's any press there, I don't know if there's anybody ever there. That needs to change. So forget cutting the cost. The room has to be transparent. Why isn't there somebody even taping it and then sending a link like you're going to do and saying, if you want to watch the meeting, here it is. Now, maybe they're doing that now with COVID, and because there's no more going to a room. Now it's done by Zoom. So really, truthfully, the meetings are done at home, But if we go back to normal, whatever that might be, the room would be up in the commissioner's office, and there it is, this tiny little room with, again, no cable access. So I think, again, because of the pandemic and having things on Zoom and on TV, things are going to change. I think there's a good future there. So what would I cut? I don't want to say I would cut anything per se. I would rather rethink, rechange, reform, and find ways to rejuvenate. More money can come in with renewable energy, as I said. More money might be able to come in through using solar energy, and we could regionalize some of our services and provide some funds as well.
Interesting. We've been talking about some of the things that need to be fixed or enhanced or whatever. What are some of the good things that are happening in Norfolk County that you would like to talk about?
I would say that number one of the best things are the people. I haven't met, there's some wonderful people who serve the county, in terms of the people at the Registry of Deeds, the people at the Aggie School, the engineering department. They're very dedicated people. They really are. They're very good. So our strength is our people. Number two, the level of service you get is terrific. When you go into the Registry of Deeds, you're made welcome, you felt comfortable, and they take care of your needs in a very professional manner. I think Norfolk County is highly regarded. It's a well-run organization. Can it be better? Yes. Can we make improvements? Of course we can. And if we don't make those improvements in a timely manner, then we'll go down a slippery slope. But I think the strength of the county is in its people, and it's in the way that people are managing with less these days.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds good. How's your campaign proceeding? You really, you're up against shoveling, you know what, against the tide.
Yeah.
But you sound like you're making it. You're doing it.
Yeah.
You got a smile on your face. You're not looking at it from doomsday. Um, are you optimistic?
Cautiously. I got some very nice comments last evening from people that watched the budget hearing again. This was because of Zoom. Because we had people that could not attend the meeting. I did. I went in person to the room. I had my mask on. We were in a classroom spread far apart. We had hand sanitizers and the doors were open, so air was circulated. But some of the members of the advisory board chose not to go. So because it was on Zoom, anyone could access in. And after the meeting, I had several people make nice comments and said, I'd like to help you. And you speak your mind and you seem like a very honest person. Let's see what we can do to help you. I'll hold a sign for you. Come to my town. I'll hold my sign. Everywhere I go, and I don't understand yet why, but I'm the only person for commissioner out there holding a sign. I'm working hard. I don't know what other way to do it. I don't know what else to say. I'm out there holding a sign, and I have my friends and followers helping me too. So we've been in Wellesley, okay? And as I said, I was at the Norwood election. I was at the Stoughton election holding signs. I went to Medway. The town of Medway was there. This weekend coming up, we're going to be doing a standout at Cobb's Corner. Wave by me, bring me a coffee if you want, or smile, but I'll be out there at Cobb's Corner. Next week, I'm going to hit a couple of elections in Norfolk, Bellingham, and in Plainville. Not Bellingham, but Plainville. And of course, the big one, the next Saturday coming up, there's like 3. We're going to hit them all. The point is, we're out there working, and where we work, we meet people. And even though they might be running for a different office, they see you and they respect that. They respect it. So I'm starting to pick up some indirect support from other people who are running for other offices. Maybe it will all come out. I don't know. Norfolk County is a big county. You know, it's a big county. There's 28 cities and towns. I think there's over 250,000 registered voters. I've got a shot, a 50% shot, 2 out of 4. I'm the last name on the ballot. So hopefully people won't just check off the first name. They'll look down there and see it, you know?
I hope so. Have you got contacts in all 28 towns or cities and towns?
Pretty much. There's a couple I haven't had yet, honestly. There's a couple. But pretty much I've either have talked to, visited, or gone to the 28 towns and visited. Now, there's more coming. Actually, Monday night, again, this is typical of my campaign, Roy, and what's going on. Monday night, we have the Canton Town meeting. It begins at 6 o'clock. Mm-hmm. I was invited to visit by Zoom the Franklin Town Committee. Now, I've got to go to that. I need to go to that. Franklin was one of those towns that because of COVID, they stopped the caucus right before we got there. There was Franklin, Weymouth, I think it was Braintree and a few others we never got to speak at. So I want to talk to the Franklin Democrats and express my position. I told the person who contacted me, thank you very much, but I'm the moderator. I've got to take care of town of Canton. He said, we'll put you at the end. I said, fine, I'll be there. Because hopefully my meeting won't take more than an hour or two. And I'll be running off the football field, coming back to my camera and linking in. But yeah, it's been fun.
Well, and this is a 4-year position?
Yes, yep.
Do we
4 years,
have your vision for the 4 years?
Sure.
I know you've already mentioned a lot so far, but
yeah.
We've got a couple of minutes left, and
yeah.
I thought maybe you'd want to fill it in with some.
No, thank you. I think if you cast your vote for Richard Staiti, you won't be wasting your vote. You won't. I'll work hard. I'll make the county more accountable. I'll make it transparent. I'll try to see every way I can to make it green with renewable source of energy. I will try to save everything that's important and essential, and that's a tall order. But the one thing I will do is I've always done, always all my life. I'll be open, I'll listen, and I'll be fair, and I'll be honest. I may not always agree with you. I may not. And you know, as a selectman, Roy, and you know how it is, you can't make everybody happy. Anyone that says that, you can't. You can't make everyone happy. As an elected official, you're going to have to make a decision, and sometimes you're going to please some people, and you're going to not please some people. I'll do the best thing that I think is right for the county and for the good of the people.
Does the commissioner have the contact with the citizenry like the selectmen do? I mean, I wonder if people really reach out to the commissioners for anything.
I've seen very little of that, and I want to change that. As I said, that's why I'd like to do something with like a Richard Staiti, even if I have to do it this way. If I can't get the commissioners to do it, like move the meeting to a different town, why can't we meet like in Braintree once a month or have the meeting? But see, no one's meeting right now. Everything's by Zoom. The day of meetings might be over. I got a notice of a zoning hearing in Brockton, whole different topic. But I for a minute, I thought, oh, we're back meeting? No, we're not. It's by Zoom. Everything's by Zoom. Everything's by Zoom. So that might be not irrelevant. But what I'm saying, accessibility is important. I think you see people reach out to the commissioners when something flares up, a county road or a layout on a road sometimes draws their concern.
Potholes.
But yeah, honest to God, what'd you say? What? I missed you.
Potholes. Mosquitoes.
Right. Yeah, right. Mosquito. But you know what? A lot of it, I hate, what's the expression? Flying under the radar? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's
sure.
A job that and it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't. It should be out in the forefront. You're a county commissioner. You're here. You're elected. Let's help people out. Let's find out what we can do. So as I said, I'd love to see a thing where I could host a meeting. Now with Zoom, maybe I could host it in Stoughton in the morning, and then have a Braintree thing in the afternoon. Hit a couple of towns and just have it opened up.
I remember when I was the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, one of the ideas that I had that I implemented was moving the meetings. We had it in different places every week and brought the meetings to the public instead of in the same old town hall meeting place. Dick, we have less than 2 minutes left. I need to end it by saying to you on a personal level, I've known you for what, 30 some odd years. I haven't seen you in about 25 years, but it's like we were never off into our own. You're a great guy, and I feel the warmth that I always felt when I was dealing with you on various levels. And I just want to wish you all the luck in the world. We have 1 minute left. Why should people cast their vote for you? Besides the fact that you're a great guy and very involved.
That's just funny. I'll make it quick, and I thank you for your comments, and I'm humbled by it. One of the candidates who's running against me or running for one of the 4 spots, he actually said, he goes, that Richard Staiti, he's a great guy. He said it, from one of the candidates. And another candidate said, I'd be honored. It would be great to serve with Richard Staiti. So I think there's some mutual respect there. Maybe because I've been around so long, I don't know. And I'm humbled by it all. But I will tell you again, if people give me an opportunity, you won't be disappointed. You won't. It's the vote. A vote is a sacred thing.
I wish you all the luck, Dick. And look forward to calling you Commissioner Staiti.
That would be fantastic. Last name on the ballot. Look for me. And it's the Democrat primary. So you have to take, if you're an independent, please take that Democrat ballot and vote for Staiti on the very end there. And then,
Thank you very much.
All right, Roy. Thank you.
Coming on. We'll talk soon.
Stay safe. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.